So I think everyone has had this experience before where maybe you're saying something in conversation or you're giving a class presentation and it's being recorded or filmed, and whether or not you realize it, upon listening back, you think, is that really what my voice sounds like? I sound so different in my own head when I'm speaking. Well, the same exact thing happens to musicians all the time. In 2009, I watched this movie called The Soloist, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Jamie Foxx. It's a movie that's based on the true story about a musical prodigy who studied at Juilliard, unfortunately faced a severe battle with schizophrenia that ultimately led him to become homeless. Now, I have no idea how much of this movie was fact versus fiction, and the movie itself honestly didn't do all that well, but there was one part of the movie that stuck with me, and it's a very real concept that comes up in my mind as a musician. So in the movie, there are several scenes where the main character is practicing cello. Sounds amazing, sounds phenomenal, but then it begins to show where he progressively gets more and more ill and his music begins to decline. But the interesting thing is that when he would practice, it would sound amazing in his own mind, but to the listener, it sounded terrible and scratchy. So the musical world inside his mind was becoming disconnected from reality. Now, obviously, this is an extreme example, and God forbid this happens to anyone, but still, those camera switches between what he thought it sounded like, switching to the camera and the audio of what it actually sounded like, made a big impact on me. Because it doesn't just happen to people with mental illnesses, it happens to all musicians. And as musicians, it's very important to have a realistic perspective on what you actually sound like. Otherwise, the music we play will not have any strong impact on the listener. Without clear intention in the sound, it's like talking to someone who's mumbling through a conversation and you can't understand a word of what they're saying. But thankfully, to keep us grounded in reality, there are two major tools that we have as musicians to help guard against this disconnect. You see, sometimes I finish a performance feeling very disappointed, feeling that I messed up all over the place, only to listen back later and realize it wasn't quite as bad as I thought. Other times I'll leave the stage or a practice session feeling pretty comfortable with my playing, only to listen back later and realize I have a lot more to work on than I realized. This, of course, leads me to the tool number one that we as musicians have, and that is recording yourself. In case you didn't know, there's this amazing thing that most of us carry around in our pocket every single day, and I have good news for you guys because it records both audio and video, and even better, it doesn't cost any extra money to do so. It's very simple to use. You take it out, you push the camera, push the red record button. Okay, so I'm being facetious, but the truth is we have an incredibly useful tool that no other generation has had before us. It used to be extremely expensive and difficult to get only a very low quality recording, and for us, literally, it could not be any easier than it is right now. In fact, this video that you're watching is being recorded on my phone right now until I save up for a better vlogging camera. But you see, there's a reason that most of us don't take advantage of recording ourselves. And it's because, frankly, we don't often like what we hear when we listen back. It's more painful in the moment to watch back a video of yourself struggling through a piece than it is to sit at the bench in first-person view and just enjoy the sensation of making music at an instrument. Now, if you're just doing this as a hobbyist, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you want to see significant improvement, even if you are just a hobbyist, then I cannot stress the importance enough of recording yourself. Because as a benefit, your understanding of what you feel or think the music sounds like becomes much more grounded in reality of what it actually sounds like. The more I do this, the less I'm thrown off when I see videos of myself playing. It's almost like you begin to be able to see and hear yourself in third-person view, kind of like in a video game, and thus you'll get a better perspective on what a listener is actually hearing. But what about that second tool? What about all those musicians that lived before us and did not have this advantage? So the tool number 2 is playing for other trusted musicians and or teachers who can give you an honest and constructive feedback on your playing. I believe this is just as, if not more important than the first tool. And by this, I do not mean playing for your non-musical cousin or your friend or your grandma who's going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. So those 3 things are important. They have to be a musician, they have to be honest and constructive. Because even if you do know a great musician, some of them still might tell you only what you want to hear. But what if I don't know any other good musicians? Well, there's no excuse for that anymore either. Because even if you're so broke that if someone broke into your house and robbed you, they'd go into debt, there are all kinds of online forums like Piano Street, Piano World, or a variety of subreddits that you can visit or even upload your playing videos to get feedback absolutely free. Of course, the issue with these forums is that you need to be careful and sift through the information, as not everybody who posts in a forum actually knows what they're talking about. But still, there are options for improvement for anyone. Plus, if you have any questions, you can always ask me in the comments, shoot me a DM or email if you want piano lessons. Anyways, I hope those 2 tools are helpful for you guys. As always, let me know if you have any questions or comments. You guys are the best. I love you guys. Stick around for more upcoming content. But until then, happy practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.